Recording Mara
So,
Gaisharu.
okay, so what we discussed last time was key concepts. Actually, we had actually done this on we took 2 sessions to do this. We talked about the Kaulatrika worldview, and we talked about the goal of self-realization and the obstacles that are there to achieve those goals. Those are the limitations and the impurities, the malas and stuff. We talked about those. We talked about how we identify ourselves uh, uh, and through different layers of our existence. We also discussed the 36 tattvas of Kashmir Shaivism versus the 25 that were there before the Kashmir Shaivism came, and and that included the 5 kanchukas or the limitations. We talked about the 5 powers and the 5 acts of God, and 5 states of awareness. This, sleeping and the deep sleep and waking state and all that stuff. We also talked about the speech, the 4 levels of speech, and the like 3 malas and the means, the upayas, and importance of Shakti in Kashmir Shaivism compared to the other schools. And we did not cover interplay between Vedanta and aesthetics and bhakti, which we hopefully will cover today. Actually, we are already 10 minutes in. And then the last one also we did not cover last time. We'll cover that resources of tantric sadhana in the modern world. Either we'll cover that in today's session or in last session. So this is some of the pictorials that I picked up from some of the lectures last time, and we can probably use this for an experiential session down the line. So today, historical perspective, we'll talk about the Madison Report and the Kashmir Valley, the Silicon Valley of the 10th century. I'll show how that is so, and how Kashmir reached the pinnacle of greatness, and then how out of that greatness evolved this 9 schools of Tantra and Kashmir Shaivism in particular. And we'll also talk about Abhinav Gupta's pivotal role in integration, and then other giants from our neighborhood in Kashmir, Utpal Deva and others. And then the last part that today I hope we'll be able to cover is miracle of survival after series of genocides, and impact of that greatness across today's India, Southeast Asia, and the world, how it is actually being seen today. And again, this resources for 21st century that we did not cover last time, we'll cover that. So this is a build-up slide. So this basically has a timeline from 200 BC to the current day, 2025. And I'm using this Madison report, which is a report, a database. There's a link here. You can find it. It is a Madison was a British historian or economist. Actually, he's an economist who has done this very thorough research to show the GDP of different countries over the historical kind of space from before Christ to now. And as of now, today, when we are in Industry 4.0 kind of a regime, obviously United States is number one in the GDP, and India is quite low down. China is also low down, and this is where we are in Industry 4.0. And this Industry 4.0 today has evolved from Industry 1.0, which was actually in the 17th century when the first industrial revolution actually started. So it's a very short time from here to here that this whole GDP story became what it is today. And during this time, Silicon Valley in California became the innovation hub where microprocessors were invented, internet started, brain research, neural networks, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, all of this thing, quantum computing, and all that has actually happened. And it all started from this 400 years of history of industrial revolution. But we must realize that we are actually in India, the Saptarishi calendar is 5,100 years. So this 50, 100 years versus this 300, 400 years is is a big gap. And the Saptrishi is basically seven rishis, or the gotras that we all have. You know, we all have our gotras. We all come from those rishis. So it's that history that we are carrying with us and from our ancestors down to today. So that history, and I'm just kind of showing what these years, gotras and all are here. But, we if you really go back a little bit, and, fourth Buddhist council that happened in Harvan in Kashmir during Kanishka's time happened when the Saptrishi calendar was already at 3,000 years, more than 3,000 years. So the history that we have is much longer than this industrial revolution that we're talking about. And at that time, the same Madison report that I was talking about is basically showing how India's GDP was.
My phone is with you.
Somebody needs to go on mute.
Okay.
And then China was number 2, and so on. So this is where the GDP situation was at that time. And golden age of Kashmir really happened in the 8th century time frame. And this is when, and I'll kind of go deeper into this. The innovation hub was not there in Silicon Valley. In fact, Silicon Valley was not even there. It was not even known. Nobody knew about it. And the innovation hub was really in Kashmir. And this was not Kashmir of today. It was a Kashmir that extended from Texla in Pakistan to Srinagar today. And that was part of this Gandhara kind of a civilization. And but in this 14th century, this whole greatness was annihilated. There was a brief respite from this annihilation. And, there was this Sikandar Butshikan, and then Badshah came. There was a respite, and Aurangzeb and Afghan rule. This was a tumultuous period. And the fact that Kashmir Shaivism survived after all that, and we'll get into that a little bit more, is a miracle. So during this period, when this thing was going on, at that time also India's GDP was so high, and industrial revolution was nowhere in the picture. It had not even started. And then after all of this turmoil started, in the 17th century, there was Guru Tegh Bahadur, and he sacrificed to relieve the Kashmiri Pandits from that genocide. He kind of intervened, and that set in motion a period of time, about 100 years or 200 years, where Sikhs really came to the rescue of Kashmir. And a miracle was set in place, but it had not really happened yet. And then in the early 19th century, after Vivekananda had come to Chicago and he had done the address, and the whole Hinduism got the exposure in the industrialized world. By this time, of course, the industry in 1.2, 1.0, 2.0 had happened. So this is when Tagore got his Nobel Prize, and both Vivekananda and Tagore went to Kashmir. And at this point, Maharaja Pratap actually caused that miracle to happen, and the Kashmir Shaivism, Kashmir series of texts and studies were restored. The books that had been hidden by Kashmiri Pandits in their attics were restored. So we'll get more into that. So this is basically a picture of how the whole thing's kind of developed, and now we just do deeper dives into some of these parts. So the golden age of Kashmir was really 730 to 1030, and this is when Karakota Empire came in, and Lalit Aditya was basically the person who really, from his capital Srinagar, he fought the onslaught of Muslims through Sindh. And I'm going to go to the next page, where I'm going to show a little bit more about how that happened. But this is the time when the golden era started, and it all came about in order to resist the Arabs and not let them come into Kashmir. And by this time, by the way, Arabs had actually dominated Spain and Portugal and that whole northern Africa, and they were spreading everywhere, but they were not allowed to come through to Kashmir area and this area because of this Karakota Empire and Lalitaditya Aditya who fought them. So his empire went from like Caspian Sea on one end and Assam on the other end. And this is actually from the Wikipedia, and what also there is this. I think these pictures are quite commonly seen in all over the world. You can see it on the internet. So this is the impression of this temple in 1870. It was just a recreation of how it would have been looking like before it was destroyed. This is the Marthan Sun Temple as it looks today, but this is how it was visualized at that time. So, I talked about this. Now, how this happened, this whole greatness happened. Basically, Kashmir, as you can see here, was a small state here. At this time, in 724, when Lalitaditya came in, this is what he inherited. And at that time, Tibet Empire was quite big, and Tibet was actually dominating Nepal and Bhutan and parts of Bengal and Assam. They were all kind of dominated by Tibet Empire. And when China kind of talks about Arunachal Pradesh and all today, this is probably what they are saying. Hey, Tibet is ours, and because Tibet was ruling these areas, these are all ours. These are the 5 fingers that they claim are theirs. But Tibet was a very threatening empire at that time. So Lalitaditya became the bulwark against the green spread that was happening from here, and he basically stopped it. And by the time of 747, he had actually not conquered as such, but he had brought these under some kind of a union of Indian kings. And so he brought them together, and that included Bappa Rawal from Rajasthan, Punjab area, Gujars and the Chalukyas. All of them resisted these Arabs. And during this period, 724 to 747, they basically went on an offensive against them and actually captured their territories that they had conquered already. So at this time, even Central Asia, Turkmenistan and Bukhara and Persia and all the way up to Caspian Sea, he went. And the Tibet Empire was shrunk. As you can see here, all of this Nepal and Mansarovar and Ladakh and all, they were all taken back. And so he united diverse cultures: Kashmiri, Rajputs, Assamese, Mahar, Uttarkuru, which is basically Uttarkuru is these northern areas, and then Tangs. Actually, he collaborated with China, the Tang Empire, the Tang dynasty. He collaborated with China against Tibet and basically shrunk Tibet to this size. So he displayed dharma through valor and diplomacy that he imbibed as a Surya Bhakt. He was a Surya Bhakt, and that's why that Marthan temple is a Surya temple. And Surya has got 7 horses, and these 7 horses is what he used: conquest, friendship. So this is basically all coming from this well-researched documentary by freelance young historian, and you can go through this link here to really look at that. And this person has actually has used 21 diverse sources to do this research and come up with this whole picture. So as you can see, this whole area was conquered back from Tibet, and this whole area was conquered back from the Arabs, and then this whole area was actually part of the Central Asian area. This is also something like today's Uyghurs, that area was also taken into this kingdom. But and this India, the kings that he kind of did not conquer, but he basically made diplomatic relationships with all of them. and they formed one force against them, against the Arabs. So these are Gujars here, and these are the southern Palas and all Chalukyas and all. They were all kind of together. So and then the force that they had, the army that they had was 150,000 Indians and 80,000 Chinese forces. This is what they use. Lalita Aditya basically brought us all together. So this was the greatness that he kind of established. And for 300 years after that, the Arabs dared not come close. That's the kind of terror that he put into them. And if you look at this link and watch this entire thing, you'll see this, how scared they became, and 300 years they did not do anything. Okay, so at this time, Kashmir became a melting pot of the, melting pot like America became a melting pot recently. Kashmir had a unique advantage of diverse cultures because Indian, Persian, Chinese, Mongolian, Tibetan, they all came together, and they used to go through the Silk Route and all converge in Kashmir. And for example, Abhinav Gupta's ancestors, they came from Ujjain, which was part of Kannauj Empire. Utpal Deva's ancestors, they came from Gujarat around this Lalita Aditya's time, because he had this collaboration and all with all these kings. So they all came to the Silicon Valley of that time, and that was Kashmir, because the capital was Kashmir. And then by the time of 11th century, Kashmir was a tantric kingdom, and the rulers were usually tantric initiates who generously patronized this tradition. There were lots of other tantric kingdoms in Asia, like, for example, Bali and Champa, which is in Vietnam now, Angkor Wat, Cambodia. They were all tantric empires which were influenced by Kashmir. And this this wisdom that was set up there is collectively called Kashmiri Shaivism, but this term is a modern term. Nobody knew about Kashmiri Shaivism till about 200 years or 150 years ago. It was only because of what happened during Maharaja Pratap's time, and then these books were discovered, they started calling it Kashmiri Shaivism, because they were all discovered in Kashmir. But it's true that most mature schools of thought in this Tantra actually, consisted of non-dual Shaiva Tantra, like the Recognition Sutra, Krama theory, and Kaulat and Spanda schools. They all originated in Kashmir Valley, and that's why 100 years back or so, 150 years back, they started calling it Kashmir Shaivism. And currently, today, the only one kingdom is there in the world which is still tantric, and that is Bhutan. And this is tantric Buddhism, of course, but this Tantra actually was a source of both Hinduism, Kashmir Shaivism, and tantric Buddhism. And this whole thing really started actually in the 3rd and 4th century of when India, after the Gupta dynasty, which was supposed to be the Sone ki Chidiya kind of thing, where the GDP was the highest. That time the shamanic Wild West and extreme Tantra collided, and the Vedic society had started degenerating big in the face of Buddhist ascendancy, and there was this crossroads of Central Asia and Indian culture was happening, and there was this, as I said, the prosperity was all around, thanks to the foundation that was set by Lalita Aditya. And Kashmir Shaivism evolved from the 92 tantras, also known as agamas, and they were basically revealed as Lord Shiva's dialogue with the Divine Mother. And 64 agamas are considered purely monastic, that is Advaita. 18 are monastic, and then 10 are dualistic, that is Dvaita. So it's a big set of sources that were kind of colliding with each other. There was this Wild West going on at that time. of these thoughts. And at this time, Sharda Peeth emerged as the center of learning in beautiful Kashmir Valley, and it was basically a Silicon Valley of the 20th, 21st century. And the reason why this emerged there is because of the royal patronage, and that nurtured this magnet as a magnet for the learned people. So I put some of these links here. I won't go through too much of detail here, but you can listen to this link. I will send it afterwards. And so this greatness, actually, the pinnacle of greatness happened from the 9th to 11th century. So when 8th century, Lalita did all the work and created this atmosphere. After that, 9th to 11th century was the pinnacle of greatness. And Abhinavagupta was at the center of that. And he was living, his ancestors had come from Ujjain, but he was living in Srinagar. He achieved Samadhi in 1025 at Birwa. And this is a question mark here because some people don't agree with that, But Birwa's village is there. That cave that I visited that cave where he's believed to have achieved his Samadhi and all of that. He did a lot of work, and I'm going to have another page where I'm going to talk about more of what Abhinavagupta did. So I'll not take too much time. And the other masters that we had was Vasugupta, who did the Spandakarika, and also he did the original Shiva Sutra, and Shemendra or Shemaraja also is called, Somananda, Utpal Deva. They were all other scholars who kind of came in that 9th to 11th century time frame. I'm going to skip this one. I have because I don't have that much time. And I also want to show that there were actually 9 schools of Tantra. And so I'm just saying here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all early schools of Tantra. And then there was 6 and 7, which are called Kashmiri Shaivism. These are the Trikha and the Kalikula. And there are some things that I have mentioned there, but I won't go into too much detail. And then the last ones were Kaupujika and Sri Vidya. So some of them were extremely left, some of them are extremely right. What that means, extremely right and left, is actually shown in this table here. The right current and the left current. Left current was non-dualistic. That was supreme non-dualistic, they were calling. And then there are some more attributes to this left, which which distinguish them. There was for the left current, most of the Kashmiri Shaivism is basically the more middle to the left. Trikha is the middle one, and Krama and Kolak Trikha are actually more left. More left means more dominance of Shakti, more dominance of women, and less of caste restrictions, and they were more liberated and charismatic gurus in this left current. They initiated women, allowed them to practice, and accepted them as gurus also, which was not the case in the right current. So there were some obviously common features between all of these 9 schools, but there were differences too, and these are being shown here. And much of this is coming from Chris Wallace and Sanderson, who have done a lot of work on this history. And it's also in Tantra illuminated by Chris Wallace. So I also got somebody from Chile who his name is Jose Luis Montesinos, and he has a mission. He's an institute called Prabhuji Mission, and they had done this work, and there was a link here which I put here, but this link is not functioning anymore. I picked up this picture from their work, but it's not there anymore. For some reason, I don't know what the reason why this is gone, but they do have this Prabhuji Mission, and they have actually shown how these Krama, Kaula, Spanda, and Prativignya, they all basically became Kashmiri Shaivism, and how Abhinavagupta basically put it all together. He integrated these, and there are some of these people, some of the scholars who created these schools, and then how they were kind of uh, Abhinavgupta basically went to all of these masters and collected all the wisdom from them, and he integrated all of this in the 250 to 1025 time frame, which is when he's supposed to have taken that samadhi. And um, so I just picked this picture because I thought this was a good way of really illustrating how the integration happened and how Abhinav Gupta played that role. And I also want to kind of show that Abhinav Gupta actually did a lot of fantastic, he created fantastic gems. He had 35 works which spanned philosophy, theology. He had a lot of devotional poetry, aesthetics, rituals, yogic practices, tantra in general. So he was a synthesizer. He basically synthesized and simplified lots of different multiple paths. And out of that came the Tantraloka, which was 12 volumes. But then he realized that this 12 volumes is too much, and common people cannot really, digest it. So he also had Tantra Sara, Essence of Tantra, and then Seed of Tantra. These two books also he wrote just because he did not, he thought that, Tantra Loka is too dense, 12 volumes. And and then I'm kind of writing a listing of other things that he published. I actually got this Parmarth Sara, which is the essence of supreme reality. I got this book actually. Swami Lakshmanju's Academy has kind of published a lot of this work. One of them is Secret Supreme, which also I purchased, and they have a gist of these Tantra Loka in them. So it's a miracle that we do have these books now. And then he also did aesthetics and art, and he did some work on Kalidasa and a commentary on Wonder of Poetry, and then commentary on Bharata's Natya Shastra. And made Natya Shastra simple for commoners, for the masses, and it's like Natya Shastra without tears. So, and then he introduced new concepts in this book, Avina Bharati, which was not there in the original Bharata's work in Natya Shastra. So, and this has obviously, because he made it so simple for the masses, it has taken off after that, and it is now part of the India's art scene, including painting, drama, music, Bollywood, etc. Classical Carnatic and classical Hindustani music and dance takes a lot of inspiration from this work that was done by Abhinav Gupta. And this would not have been there if he had not done that work. And he also introduced bhakti as one of the foundational rasas in this Abhinav Bharati. And this was something that he contributed as an original thing that was not there in the original Natya Shastra. And I believe that this bhakti movement actually owes something to this work that was done by Abhinav Gupta. As you can see, this was all done in 1025, and within the next 200, 300 years, it was such a huge thing that came about, the bhakti movement. And then I think the one of the most important things that I consider his work to be is that many of the books which are now lost, at that time they were not obviously lost because there were no invaders by that time, but he wrote commentaries on those, and those commentaries are the only link that we have to those lost books. And so many of his books were translated by these commentaries were actually translated by Lilian Silburn from France, who also worked under the guidance of Swami Lakshmanju in 1950s and 60s, 50s mostly. And actually, he had Swamiji had actually given a room to her in Ishwar Ashram. So, by the way, this is actually just a YouTube picture I have taken of. This is something that MHRD, the Ministry of Human Resource Development in Government of India, you can see Government of India thing here. they are teaching this Nati Shastra or Abhinav Bharati's work, Abhinav Bharati work. They're actually teaching this as part of their courses now. This is just a picture. This is quite a 34-minute long thing that you can actually search for. So we are only more than halfway. So I want to conclude it here. Let me just show you this pictorial. I want to show you that there was a lot of interplay between Vedanta and Advaita. We very often say that, Advaita, Vedanta, Kashmiri Shaivism and all, they're different and these are the distinctions, but it's actually, it all worked together. There was no distinction. It evolved from each other. It formed the philosophy. I mean, Advaita Vedanta evolved because of Kashmiri Shaivism, and Kashmiri Shaivism evolved because of Advaita Vedanta. So there are some scholars today, like Professor Stanveshwar Trimal who was contemporary practitioner, who is an acharya from Nepal, and he's part of this Mattu endowment at Stony Brook today, who is very well versed both with Advaita Vedanta and Kashmiri Shaivism. And if you listen to him, you'll see that these are not distinct things; they're not separate things, but they have evolved into some distinction with some distinctions, because this free thought and discussion and all is all allowed in our philosophy, uh, in our wisdom. So this is a picture I kind of built to show that 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, when we had this Mahabharata, Ramayana, and all that, and Gita, there was a Samanya Vishesha, which is basically uh, distinct knowledge, and then there is a Samanya knowledge. The commoners, basically, they all learned Mahabharata, Ramayana, listened to all these stories, and this was very popular. But over the time, things became more peculiar, and it was not easy for people to really understand these things. So, Yoga Sutra, Patanjali, Bharata Munis, the Nati Shastra and all, they started becoming more and more intellectually advanced. And as things became more and more, more and more advanced, they became kind of sacred, because then people would not accept them. They would not understand them. So Shiva Tantra was at the top of this, and there was a lot of content of Shiva Tantra and Kashmir Shaivism, which was kind of secret. So what happened at this time was, because it was all secret, people did not really know what was going on, and this philosophy became more of an occult. But then, so this was basically beyond normal comprehension. It was only experiential. Only the yogis did it. But Abhinav Gupta really came and he simplified everything. And Shiva Tantra without tears, and it was made possible for householders without any caste distinction, without any just gender discrimination. It was all made possible for householders to practice this. And he brought in this rasa theory and made Nati Shastra and all these arts and aesthetics and all simpler. And this is all based on very solid work that he did. He did not just wave a wand or something. He really did a lot of solid work and created this householder and masses friendly philosophy. So, I talked about how Indian aesthetics evolved because of the work he did, and that finally culminated into, the music and plays and dances and the bhakti movement that actually happened today. Is, for example, Sikhism is all bhakti movement, and they actually use this advanced yoga and kundalini and all that stuff in Sikhism. So this contribution that Abhinav Gupta did was really fantastic.
Vijay, can we take a break for the quiz right now? It's almost
Ahmed, just give me 2 more minutes.
Okay.
I want to show you that this whole thing, when we had this Magadha, Chandragupta here and Gandhara here, this is this is the before 6th century. These are the two centers of excellence, Gandhara and Magadha. And in fact, the whole thing actually moved from Gandhara to Magadha when Alexander attacked. Kanishka came around this time, and then some of the texts and all actually migrated to Japan and China at this time. The Buddhist books, and then Kashmir happened. Kashmir and Kannauj. After Gandhara and Magadha, Kashmir and Kannauj happened, and this is the greatness, the pinnacle of greatness that Kashmir achieved at this time. So 6th to 14th century, the Karakota Empire and all of that stuff that I kind of talked about. And then the influence went from here to Tibet. So the new form of Tibetism actually was born there in this area, and the Tantric Buddhism that went to Tibet, Bota, by the way, this is not Botavana Sahib, Bota. So and then this spread to south also, and then from south and actually even east it spread. Like as I said, all these empires were brought under one kind of a flag by Lalita Aditya, and this influence went through this, and then from there it went to Cambodia and Thailand and Indonesia and all that stuff. So I just wanted to kind of show you how this whole thing evolved. And today I want to kind of show you that Sri Vidya is flourishing. Sri Vidya was the last school of Kashmiri Shaivism which survived, and because it survived because it went to the south, and it originated from Kashmir, and a lot of this stuff that Hari Parvat you see, the Sri Chakra and all, is basically the heart of Sri Vidya. And the Hatha Yoga, Nath Sampradaya, this Adityanath, it all came from this Kashmiri Shaivism was the root of this. And Eastern India, Mahavidyas, the 10 Mahavidyas, it is also influenced by Kashmir Shaivism. That actually even the Bhakti Rasa in ISKCON is particularly actually went to Orissa, and from there it became ISKCON finally. And then Tibet, as I said, lots of books which were burnt in Kashmir and which were burnt in Nalanda, they actually had already made their way into Tibet. And today there is this Rajiv Malhotra actually, who's in the US. He's actually trying to rescue some of those books from Tibet because they still exist there, even though they were burnt in Nalanda and other places. So there's a link here which basically talks about that. And then Cambodia, Angkor Wat, and Champa, Vietnam, there's still Hindu traditions there. People who adhere to Hinduism, Bali also, and then the music, dance, drama that we have, Carnatic style and Hindustani style, they're all originated from there. And even the hippie phenomenon in the 60s and all was influenced by that. So there's a Sri Vidya temple in New York, and there's a clip that I have kind of shown here. This is all existing today. And then I already talked about the UGC Government of India course on aesthetics. So now let's go to the quiz.
Let me launch it. Please go ahead and respond to the quiz that you'll see on your screen. Please go ahead and take your time to do that. It will be there for about, we'll keep it for 2 minutes in total. Are you able to see? I hope everybody's able to see that quiz. I'm not seeing any answers so far.
Actually, I have not covered some of this yet. For example, question 5 is not covered yet. I think everything else is covered.
Okay, no worries.
I think that is general knowledge as well, so that can be excused.
So, but I'm not seeing any responses so far. Ashwini, can you see, make sure that you're able to see the
Yeah, I can see it.
Mhm.
I think panelists can't put any answers here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm assuming everyone else can.
Yeah, I'm not
Shivan,
sure
you
why
may
it's
not be
not
able to
compiling the answer.
answer these questions. Okay, maybe we can ask one of the
Yeah,
participants.
no, I
if
see
there
now.
is
I see now answers trickling in. Yeah,
Okay, good.
I see answers trickling in. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to have at least 8-9 minutes for the miracle. I like that miracle part.
Sure. I see 4 people are answering out of 9 that are attending. 4 are answering. Most all 4. Yeah. Okay.
Last time on Tagani.
Okay, so we'll end it now. Almost all have been answered. So we'll end the poll and share the results. Let me know if you're able to see the results.
I cannot see the results.
Not see the results. That's
So why did I show the results?
but before you show the results, so let me say it. Yeah, I'm trying to share it, but here's what it is. That for the first question, 3 out of the 4 said 5100. 3 out of the 4. So that's good.
Good.
For the second question, 4 out of the 4 said B and C, which is correct.
Good.
For the question number 3, 3 out of 4 said Natya Shastra, which is the correct answer.
Good.
On question number 4, 2 said Srividya and 2 said Kola. When Srividya is the correct answer. And on question number 5, 2 out of 4 said Birbal Dhar and 2 out of 4 said Badsha, when Birbal Dhar is the correct answer.
Yes.
And in question number 6, everybody said Birwa.
Good.
On 7, 2 out of 4 said Bhutan and 2 out of 4 said Bali, when Bhutan is the correct answer.
Great.
And then in the last question, everybody said all of the above. So that's correct.
Great. Good. So let me now let me now go to this thing where I was listening to the book this Chris Wallace, who has this recognition philosophy translation of this, which was written in the 11th century, and he said that this text itself is extraordinary, but the fact that we are able to read the Recognition Sutra today, that it exists at all, is in any language, let alone in English, is nothing short of a miracle. So this miracle happened because in the face of these conquests, 3 centuries after Khem Raja, Muslim invaded again and again, regularly looting and destroying temples, holy places, etc., etc. But there were some good things that happened during this time when Kashmiri Pandits, and they used some strategic thinking, and they were able to kind of lay the foundation for this survival or this miracle. Sri Bhatt, who cured Badsha, and till that time, Badsha was also like his father and his family. He was also kind of just converting people. He was also doing exactly what others were doing. But Sri Bhatt was the doctor who finally was somehow found by Badsha, because some people told him, hey, these are the only people, Kashmiri Pandits, who have the knowledge to really cure this kind of stuff. And he used his the rich knowledge that Kashmiri Pandits had to cure Badsha holistically. He not only cured his boil that on his on his forehead, he also cured his body and mind. And as a result of that, Bhatt became what he became. And then Sri Bhatt, basically, when he was asked what does he want, he said, "I want my people to be restored and brought back with respect." So this act was the first one where people were actually brought back by Badsha, and Badsha became Badsha. He became the great king, and he ruled for 50 years, and that was one of the things that kind of turned the corner there. And then the other thing that was done at that time was there was this boy institution. That means every family, one brother was supposed to become the Guruji. He would continue to delve in these scriptures and make the horoscopes and stay with this knowledge base. And while everybody else became a carcoon and started working in illustration, in bookbinding, in all kinds of things, they became carcoons. But then the boy kept the scriptures alive, and this happened all happened during Badsha's time. But then after Badsha, all this thing happened again and again. This genocide happened again and again. But Kashmiri Pandits, they kind of exhibited some tenacity. And, I won't go into too much detail here, but there were lots of things that happened at this time. Laldev and the Nud Rishi and the Rishi order that happened. These Rishis, though they were all Muslims, they were all vegetarians. They used to be bachelors, not like having 4 wives and stuff like that. And they used to have Sahaj Islam, and they used to do tantric namaz, which was different from other namaz. So they kind of kept this Shaivism kind of alive there through this Rishi order. And even today, when they are singing this Chakri in Kashmir, they start with a lalbak. So that tenacity kind of stayed, and during this time, untold number of Shaiva tantric manuscripts were destroyed, but many were saved. Kashmiri Pandit families passed through generations and painstakingly recopied these books for 6 centuries on the burza paper, birch bark, burza. And the women kept the traditions alive. They used to keep the riti alive, and even though they did not know why they are doing what they are doing, they kept it alive. Even our mothers, our generation, people are keeping it alive. Even current, ladies, our wives are keeping it alive. So women played a big role in keeping this thing alive. And then the turning point happened when Guru Tegh Bahadur, intervened and helped. Kriparam Dutt was, he led the KPs to plead to Guru Tegh Bahadur. And Kriparam Dutt basically finally became, he trained Guru Gobind Singh, who was, of course, the son of Guru Tegh Bahadur. He trained him in Sanskrit. And he became a Sikh later. And then something else happened 100 years later, when Vijay Dhar went to Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and he invited or he requested them to come in and free Kashmiri Pandits from the not only Kashmiri Pandits, even Kashmiri Muslims were actually fed up with this Afghan rule. And then there was a battle of Shupian, where Maharaja Ranjit's forces, won the battles, and then Kashmir became part of the Sikh Empire. And then, of course, the British came, and the British defeated the Sikhs, and the British, they wanted to have a Hindu head of state in Kashmir for political reasons. And then, of course, Maharaja Pratap came. And at that time in 1885, when the Maharajas came back, there were only about 47 Brahmin families left in the region. And these Brahmins they kept substantial number of manuscripts of original tantric texts, commentaries, scriptures. I was talking about Abhinav Gupta's books. They were kept alive. So, and then in 1858, Sahib Ram Kaul, SRK, not Shah Rukh Khan, he emerged. And then this manuscript that I'm showing here actually was found in Ishbar ashram of Swami Lakshmanju. And this is where actually things started resurfacing. He was actually, he was not in Kashmir. He was kind of, because of Afghan rule, he was out. But he came back from Varanasi and came to Kashmir. And in fact, by the way, he went to Charnag, which is my village. And this is all written here. I don't want to go into too much detail because we don't have that much time. But what Maharaja Pratap did was he set up this. At this time, Vivekananda awakening had happened. Tagore was kind of winning the Nobel Prize, and they all came to Kashmir because they all knew the richness of Kashmir. And Maharaja Pratap really took initiative, and he created this research department at Lal Mandi in 1911, which stayed there till the Independence Day. And 70 works of Shaiva Tantra, Kashmir series of texts and studies were actually done there. And these decades, few decades, were, I think, say 70 works, about 70 works, but I kind of counted 78. And they really restored these books, and you can see how bad shape these books were. These all kind of torn and moth-eaten books, and they restored them. And also during this time, in 10, these Gilgit manuscripts were found and airlifted from Gilgit to Delhi in 1948 after Kabali raid, and they were all found there. And these are actually even older than Kashmir Shaivism books. And then what happened was, this is all Maharaja Pratap here, is all these writing these books. And this is actually a picture from University of Michigan. So what Maharaja Pratap did was he sent all of these books that he had recreated during this period, sent them when the independence was happening and Sheikh Abdullah was going to take over. He sent these books out to all the major universities in the world. And this is, I picked up from University of Michigan. These are all the books that their library was carrying. And when you click on these, you find these books. And there are some pictures. I kind of also got it from Google, and you can see University of Michigan here. And these are all books which were airlifted or sent by Maharaja Pratap before the independence, so that it would not be lost. So these are the Gilgit manuscripts, which became part of the UNESCO things. And then this link which talks about this, how these books were airlifted from Gilgit to make sure that they get preserved. And funny thing happened was, after Sheikh Abdullah and all came, and they actually wanted to now dilute this. They wanted to bring this whole series of Persian works, not only the Kashmiri authors, and even Persia, India, and include, they should all be part of the Kashmir series of texts and studies. So they wanted to kind of dilute it. And they also did some good work. They added some other things like Krishna Avatara, this Vanvun, different kinds of Vanvun, and 3 different kinds of Vanvun. So and then also Laleshwari and Rupa Bhavani and all these things were added later. So this is all Kashmir series of texts and scriptures, which was basically that miracle that happened, where these books were restored. And this is the time when Swami Lakshmanju was about in his teens, and he started actually using these books. And he then kind of, and he was very bright. He really understood all of this. He was a enlightened person, and he spread this knowledge, and lots of other people throughout the country, Ramana Maharishi and Swami Muktananda, they were all influenced by this. And then of course these some of the hippies descended on India in the 60s, and some of them were going to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and Maharishi Mahesh Yogi sent them, who are the best ones, they sent them to Swami Lakshmanju. And Swami Lakshmanju all had all the books.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're over the time.
Yes.
Just want to let you know that.
Yeah. So let me just conclude here.
Mhm.
A lot of work has been done, and now people are using that work. People are using those books from those University of Michigan, Berkeley, and Oxford, and all these different universities, and they are seeing parallels with this modern science. And I have got some of these links here, panel, where people are discussing this today, and I'll not go into much of this, but I've got these links here, which are basically talking about how, this is a KMD bus here, how these Westerners are flocking to Kashmir in 1977 to really learn more about Kashmir, and then at the Science and Non-Duality Conference, everything that was being discussed there when I first joined it in 2016 or 15 is people were talking about Kashmiri Shaivism everywhere. And then people are coming up with consciousness, the mathematics of consciousness these days. So, that was basically the end of this miracle part. So a lot of neuroscience is being informed by concept of Kashmiri Shaivism, and Kundalini Yoga. This is Jung, who was the father of modern psychology, and his book on Kundalini Yoga, and stuff. So anyway, I just want to kind of show the miracle that happened, because of which all those books got restored, and all this dense knowledge and philosophy was rescued. See what has happened in Mayan world and other parts of the world. They're just finding these ruins, but they don't have access to any books. This access to the books is what really makes Kashmiri Shaivism distinct, and it's a survival of the indigenous wisdom that has not happened anywhere else in the world, I think.
So there's a question that Amit ji has asked. The question is Agastya Gotra same as Kashyapa? Was the question.
I don't know. See, I started getting interested in this stuff, but maybe somebody else has an answer.
I think this stems from some mention of Agastya Rishi was also called Kashyapa Rishi. I don't know the answer to that part as well, but I guess those tidbits are kind of discussions we can have in subsequent sessions.
And then also lots of information is there on the internet. You can ask.
Yeah.
You'll find some contradictions there, but usually you can connect the dots.
Amit here. Yes. The reason I asked this question is because there is a mantra that is Shaloka. Kashyapatri Bardava Vishwabitrate Gotama Jam Dagni Vishishta Saptate Rishis Samritam. So it's like a mantra to, say the names of all 7 rishis. So usme Agastya aata nahi hai, isliye maine question pucha tha.
Okay. Yeah. I was actually showing that there are lots of sub-gotras also.
Oh, there are,
Yeah, lots of sub-gotras,
yeah. Okay, so we don't have any other question other than that. There were some comments, but there's no other question that I see on the question and answer. But one last time we can ask the people who are attending. Is there any question that you'd like to be answered? Or
And thank you to Vijay ji for a lot of work that he has put into it, and trying to actually concise everything in an hour, usually 55 minutes. Thank you a lot, Vijay ji. Thanks.
Thank you, and I hope with this YouTube, people will increase their awareness about this whole thing and be able to see. In the next session, which is probably the last one before we get into deeper dives, we're going to be covering how this knowledge, these key concepts of Kashmiri Shaivism are kind of shaping the future: science, art, aesthetics, and ethics. And we talked about how we need to rethink humanity today because of all this climate crisis and all that stuff. So I'm going to basically come back and circle back to this science and aesthetics and ethics, and also the fact that this knowledge, this heritage is so rich that it should form a basis for Kashmiri Pandits Renaissance. And because we are all scattered all over the world, we need something to really glue us together and keep our heritage alive and apply it to the transformation of the world, because we are in positions where we can play that role. all over the world.
All right. With that, I think we'll conclude this session today, and we'll have a session number 7 for this introductory series. And please stay tuned for the date on which that will be held, because there's a conflict. Typically, our cadence has been 2 weeks barring these long weekends. But we'll also see when the session 7 can be done because of some conflict with Vijayji's schedule. We'll let you know on that on the chat when that will happen. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this session, please share the topics that we should all look at for deep dives, and so that we can prepare. And then also, if you like to volunteer for taking the lead on a particular deep dive or any practice session, please also do that.
Yeah. Also, I think, at one point, I think Amit had said that he would like to know a little bit more about some of the things that I had left out. And I wanted to kind of next time maybe spend some time on that. Importance of Pakistan occupied Kashmir is one of the things that I just captured recently. And then the deeper dives that I kind of shared. I started making a bin list for deeper dives. And then we have an optional experiential session that we want to talk about. And that's it. Let's maybe next time we can just cover these remaining things that have been left out. And some of these things are videos from my trip to Kashmir in October last year. So we could probably kind of spend some time on this. Okay.
Okay. That's right. Namaskar. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Namaskar.